Hey guys, this is my amazing race recap for episode number 3. Uno, dos, tres! Which, mind you, is named after something that came out of my mouth. And it wasn't throw up. The episode is titled Like James Bond Again because when Joey and I were riding on these jet boats, I was like, it's like James Bond again! And they named the episode that, so that's pretty cool. But I'm jumping ahead. Let's take it back. If you watched the last episode of The Amazing Race, you know that Joey and I finished in 4th place. And since we checked into the map only a little bit after 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, that meant we had a really great opportunity of catching up with everyone else. So Joey and I are in Bora Bora. We opened up our clue and it tells us we were headed to New Zealand. Woo! Love it! If you guys remember, I went to New Zealand earlier last year, around this time actually. I had won a trip to anywhere in the world and I wanted to go to New Zealand. We didn't visit Christchurch when we went, but I remember the whole area and I remember the airports. In my mind, I was like, ching! From what I had understood, a lot of the teams hadn't been to New Zealand, so when it came to Joey and I kind of had the upper hand because I knew where we were going and I had experience driving when we were over there and just the locations, the airports, everything. So we get to the airport and we realize John and Jessica, the hockey players, and David and Connor aren't there, so that means they had caught an earlier flight and we were on the 3rd flight out, which we had a lot of the other teams on it as well. We land in Pepite and I'm like, oh man, we gotta rush to the ticket counter. And we're running and we get there and the flight's not leaving until like the next day. So that meant we had a lot of time to kill. And I mean a lot. It's not like we had money, so we couldn't just be like, oh, let's go shopping. And it's not like we wanted to leave a big group of people and be like, let's go to the beach. So we kind of just had to stick around just in case anything changed. Yes, I had my teammate Joey and we're really good friends, so it kind of made everything easier, but you miss your family. I miss my boyfriend. I miss a home. And being around a bunch of people who kind of just want you gone, it's kind of an unsettling feeling. I knew alliances were going to be formed pretty quickly, and Joey and I needed to be ahead of that game. From the beginning, we loved the Derby moms. We felt like we connected with them. We thought they were really cool. They're tough chicks. Why not be in an alliance with them? They're awesome. So that came naturally. When we asked them if they wanted to work together, they seemed like they were totally on board. Another team Joey and I really liked were John and Jessica, and that was before they had even won the Express Pass. We knew they were competitors, and especially with the way that they had played in the 1st and 2nd leg, we knew that they were a team that we wanted on our side instead of against us. They were also the youngest team outside of Joey and I, so we already felt like we had really cool chemistry. Now, strategizing alliances, this is not an easy thing because everyone kind of was on their own. But Joey and I were thinking, what if we pick an alliance with 2 other teams and then all of us just come to this agreement that we're gonna work together, give each other information, and do whatever we can to make sure all of us make it to the final 3. It seems easy enough. That was our strategy. We already had 2 teams that we liked, so why not? During the time that we had waiting in the Pepite airport, we decided to make this official. Facebook official. No, just kidding. We couldn't use the internet. I wish. So we made our little pact and instantly it just felt like we had a little family. Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I just felt like we had this like awesome alliance with 4 other really great people. Joey and I went from feeling like we were kind of alone on the race to knowing that we had some other people that were looking out for us. And it totally changed the game for us. Gave us a little more confidence and it just felt better. So after that talk, we decided it's time to hit the hay. And what better place to sleep than on the airport floor with all the cockroaches and trash. That was definitely a first for me. I really felt like I was homeless, but I made a little comfortable bed out of my little inflatable neck pillow and then used my blanket and I was cuddled up next to John and Jessica and Joey and I'm just like, this is the life. Actually, I was so tired it didn't really matter. We wake up bright and early, get our tickets, and we're headed to New Zealand. So being that my teammate is Joey, he's super athletic and he's always doing stuff to stay fit, and I kind of jumped on that train a little bit late in the game. I've played sports my whole life and I am a pretty active person, but I hadn't necessarily been like working out as much as Joey had. So it was kind of intimidating and I knew that I always had to keep up with him because I didn't want to be the reason why we were ever slowing down. So one thing that I did and started doing, and it really helped, is right before the plane would land, I would go into the bathroom and I would give myself a pep talk and I would stare into the mirror and I'd be like, you are fast, you are young, you are healthy, you can do this. No one can run faster than you. Your backpack's not that heavy. You're an awesome teammate. Joey, he's great. You guys are gonna be awesome together. And I would just basically say all these things to hype myself up. I also had these Gatorade energy chews and I took 2 of them before we landed and I'm like, these will give me the power! So I popped those bad boys in and it says it takes 15 minutes to actually start working, and right when we landed, dude, I gunned it off that plane. I was running so fast. I think Joey was even surprised. He looked behind and he was like, where's Megan? And I was up ahead. I was just like, come on, Joey, let's do this. So we were the first people to the ticket counter, and we get there and we secure our tickets, but I find out Pam and Winnie got their tickets before us, even though we were there first. That was really confusing, and I was just like, whatever, if they're gonna be on that earlier flight, who cares? I had been to this airport before, so I knew that we had to make it over to the domestic flight, which was like about a mile away from the international. It felt like a mile. Joey and I ran there. We were on the same flight as Pam and Winnie originally, but only one of us got a ticket, so we had to give that ticket up. Fortunately, we made it onto the 5:30 flight, which was still just as good. We land in Christchurch, New Zealand, and oh my gosh, is it beautiful. Definitely a temperature change from Bora Bora. It's a little bit more chillier, so Joey and I kind of had to suit up a little bit. We get into our cars. I decide to drive because I figured it might be stick shift because we're in New Zealand, and I don't know, maybe it's stick shift. But it wasn't, and Joey should have probably drove because he's more aggressive out of us when it comes to driving. So we hop in the car and we already know where we're going because when we were waiting at the airport, we went to a hotel and looked up directions. We're right behind John and Jessica and Dave and Connor, which is awesome because we're in the top 3. We're doing well. The Derby moms were right behind us along with Max and Katie. Pam and Winnie were somewhere, but nowhere at the same time. Their plane had landed first and their car wasn't there, but for some reason when we made it to the bridge, they weren't there. I don't know what happened. We see a giant sign once we get to the location, and we see that it's a jet boat sign up. So Joey and I run and we grab the number 3 spot. And right after us is Max and Katie. Before us was John and Jessica and Dave and Connor. We also see another sign saying that the jet boats don't leave until 7:30 in the morning, so that meant we were spending the night. And after sleeping in an airport floor, I was just like, what, am I gonna have to sleep in a tree? I'll do it. Shoot, I don't care. Thankfully, there were tents with sleeping bags, and it was just like an awesome camping experience, especially because we had formed that alliance with John and Jessica and the Derby moms, and I was just like, oh, this is the best thing ever. All we needed is marshmallows to make s'mores, but there weren't any. After having a wonderful night's rest, Joey and I are headed to our next clue on board a jet boat. I had also done jet boating before when I was in New Zealand, so this was so cool to do it again, and Joey was actually driving, which was kind of scary because those jet boats, they're like, it's really weird. When you turn left, you're actually kind of turning right, so it's just confusing, but it was amazing. The water was the prettiest color ever. We're surrounded by beautiful landscape, the mountains, everything. It was just such a refreshing feeling and such an amazing thing to take in. We went from Bora Bora to New Zealand. I swear, it couldn't get any more beautiful. As we're pulling up on our jet boats, Joey and I see in the distance a bunch of helmets lined up and ATVs, which we both start freaking out because this is like adventure after adventure. This is crazy. What are we doing? We read our clue and it says rev it up or go fishing. This was an easy choice. I play a lot of Mario Kart. I'm actually pretty good. I'm also an LA driver, which puts me like above a lot of other drivers in the world because I drive crazy. So we hop on our sweet ATVs and we head off to find our next clue. So Joey didn't want to get his tights dirty from the mud, so he kept driving really close to these really thorny bushes, and his legs were protected because there was like a little shield guard where his legs were, and mine weren't. I didn't notice this was happening because I was like on the back of the ATV, and I'm like, wow, that's weird that we're not going into the mud, and then I'm just like, ow, ow, oh, my leg hurts. My legs are being stabbed by these thorn bushes. I don't even know what they were, but they hurt so bad, and they were going into my freaking skin. And I had to tell Joey, I'm like, Joey, you need to go in the mud. I'm like gonna die. My leg's gonna get taken off. I had to tell Joey, I'm like, Joey, you need to go in the mud. It's okay if you get dirty. We'll wash it off in the sink. We'll just do something, but my legs are bleeding. So we just like steer into the mud. It took him a while, but he finally just went into the mud and we just got a little dirty. You can't blame him. We don't really have laundry, so whatever clothes that you have to keep clean for as long as you possibly can. So after that fun adventure was over, we make it to the Derby cars and we see all of them lined up. In my head, I really didn't know what we were up against, but I just knew it was going to be something that involved cars, and when we get there, it's like this giant mud field set up with cones. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane! It looked like a video game. I swear I had played this video game before. I don't know what the title of the video game is, but I know I played it. We hop in the car and it's stick shift, which is easy for me because that's how I learned how to drive to begin with, but for Joey, it was a little bit more of a challenge. I taught him how to drive manual before we left, but we had only done that a few times, so we were a little bit scared. But Joey picked it up so freaking quickly. You only had to really keep it in first and second, so we only had to hit the clutch once. After Joey's turn, I hopped in the seat and oh my gosh, something just took over me. My inner speed racer came out and I was just mobbing. I was like, When we hit the last cone, I hit the brakes once and then I slammed on the gas, and that's what really helped me fishtail it all the way around and go right back into the cones. Joey had come up with the idea of sticking closer to the cones, and that's what helped us get our time on the second round. John and Jessica had finished just a little bit before us, so when we got on our ATVs, we're right behind them, and Dave and Connor had just finished, so we knew right then and there we were in third, which was amazing. As long as we were in like front of the pack versus like last or back of the pack, we were feeling pretty good. Joey and I hop back on the ATVs and we head back to the jet boat. This was really funny, and Joey didn't include this in his recap. I thought it was really hilarious, but when we were running, the water was really cold and our shoes had just dried from being soaking wet in Bora Bora when we had swam through the water, so he didn't want to get his shoes wet again. So Joey was being super careful, stepping on all like the stones and trying not to get his feet wet. And I'm like, Joey, just get your feet wet, we need to hurry. And he's like, no, it's so cold. I felt his pain. It sucked because we had to walk around with like super cold wet shoes, but I appreciated his effort to not get his shoes soaking wet. So we finally get back on dry land and we read our clue, and it says we have to go to Mount Hutt Station. We hop in the car and I have a general idea of where Mount Hutt Station is because I had received some directions prior to that. It was across the bridge, down the road a couple of miles, and then we would see it. And that's all that I got. So we hop in the car, and before we even pass the bridge, there's a Mount Hutt something or another. And Joey's like, we should go up there. We should go up there. It should be there, Megan. And I'm like, I don't know. The guy said that we were supposed to cross the bridge. And Joey's like, no, I think it's up here. And I'm like, well, I would hate to cross the bridge and go super far and then it actually be right where we were. So I take Joey's advice and we go up the mountain to this like lodge, and it's definitely not Mount Hutt Station. It's Mount Hutt Lodge, which is like some hotel random something or another. So we get back in the car and I'm like, Joey, I really think we need to go this way. And we're kind of scrambling because we're really ahead of the pack and we want to keep that lead, but we're also kind of nervous because no one else is around us. We don't see Dave and Connor, we don't see John and Jessica, we're kind of on our own. And there is no worse feeling than that because you don't know where you're at in the race. You could feel like I'm in first, or you could have that same feeling and mentality and actually be in last. And this was the first time Joey and I had kind of gotten really frustrated with each other. Joey kept second guessing what I was doing, and it was making me nervous because I would finally make a decision and then he would be like, oh, I don't know if we should do that. And I'm like, well, we have to do something or else we're just like not doing anything. And I told him when we were in the car, I told him stop telling me what to do. Thankfully, he made a light heart moment of that. He was like, Diva in the front. It's stressful. The race brings out the worst in you because you are like on high stress level, anxiety, everything is happening all at once. Not to mention I was a little bit hungry, and you know how I get when I'm hungry. Anywho, Joey and I are driving around for what seems like hours trying to find this Mount Hutt Station, and we're not finding it. Finally, out of the blue, where we had passed oh so many times as Mount Hutt Station, conveniently every single time we passed Mount Hutt Station, we were looking the other way. Because there is a road called Mount Hutt Station Road, and we're like, oh, is it down there? And we'd be looking, and it's on the other side of the street. This was really frustrating because we didn't know what place we were in because we really didn't see too many people on the road. We get there and we're in 6th place. I read the clue and it's a roadblock, and Joey and I had decided early on that he would take the more difficult roadblocks and I would take, you know, the easier ones because they would just be way easier for him to do. And on the Amazing Race, it's really important for you to split up the roadblocks evenly because your partner can only do a certain amount before you have to do the rest of them. And we didn't want to get to that point where Joey had done all of the roadblocks and then a really difficult one comes up and then I have to do it and I'm not able to do it. So I read the clue and it's talking about like some shepherd puppy, and I'm like, dude, I had this. I love dogs. This is gonna be awesome. Little did I know what was up ahead. So if you watched the episode, you already know that this is to be continued. Meaning, you didn't get to see me getting up in that schmozzle-toff. But they did have a picture of me on the CBS website going down, launching off of the like dirt ramp into the water, and oh my gosh, that is just a beautiful picture. So that's all I can tell you about Joey and I's adventure as far as this episode goes, but let's just talk a little bit about the ending. The leg is continuing, and Dave and Connor got first place on crutches? What the heck? That's insane. I feel like if I were in crutches, I would just be like on the floor all the time, which is where I spend half the time anyways because I'm always falling. I don't know, that Dave and Connor, they don't give up. So that is the end of my recap for episode number 3. Be sure to tune in this Sunday for our adventures in Bali. Here's a teaser of what's to come and an exclusive clip from this week's episode.
CBS Sunday.
We're gonna win the Amazing Race.
Travel to exotic Bali,
Couldn't have a better companion. Love my son.
where the heat is on
Wow, it's hot. Come on, come on.
and the surf's up.
Looks like I'm going surfing. There's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow.
Who will win?
We've been going 4 days now.
The longest leg
Tick tock, tick tock. We can't give up.
in Amazing Race history.
Can I just cry for a second?
There's no crying on The Amazing Race.
A new Amazing Race CBS Sunday.
Keep going. I'm just gonna keep going until I can't go no more. Once I get to that chewy center, then I know I'm good. Oh, hold on, I got a little something in my tooth right there. Excuse me, sir, you got anything in there? Is there a clue or something? Does this like hurt their teeth or anything?
Get your little monkey paw in there. There it is.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. If you want to win a sweet Team YouTube t-shirt like this one, make sure to head on over to Lifebury, which is my second channel, where I vlog every single day. That is it. I hope you liked this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you do, and I will see you guys next week with another recap. Bye! Could swim, I just wasn't really good at diving. So this is when Joey and I realized, you know, I'll stay on the boat, he gives me the shells, I'll crack them open, and we'll just work together and kind of...
It's good to know
we
that
were
you're
hoping
a normal
that.
person.
Yeah. But you have to do it for Lifebury. You have to say it in real life.